started playing Hardcore Classic before official server support was out, back when Hardcore was an add-on and Self-Found was on by default. Everybody leveling were in the same guild, Mortal, and once you hit 60, you graduated into the big boy guild, Mortal Elite, and you were finally allowed to trade without restriction. My plans for the fresh anniversary launch of Hardcore Classic were to reach level 60, Hardcore, Self-Found, and then just kind of die in some cool way. Self-Found challenge completed. So when I hit 60 on my priest the other day and noticed that not only was my Soul of Iron buff upgraded, but my Self-Found buff remained. All I could do was echo the words of Mr. Settled.
That has just unlocked so much content. This changes everything. This has just changed everything.
The goal is full pre-raid BIS gear and raid consumes. Naturally, full BIS would be preferable, and I will seize any opportunity to raid that I can get. However, the great folks over at Self-Found Souls are still working on reaching max level, so until then, pre-raid BIS will have to do. Holy Priest pre-raid BIS consists of 12 items that drop from dungeon bosses, 2 high-end craftable items, 1 quest reward, and 2 random world BOEs, Cassandra's Grace and Elder Wizard's Mantle. Since it's not feasible, and indeed not really possible to target grind these, I will replace them with Dreamweave Circlet, which I can craft with tailoring, and the Mantle of Lost Hope, dropped by Lord Rockor in BRD. True Faith Vestments require me to get 300 tailoring. Furthermore, it requires me to obtain 10 Mooncloth, and 1 piece of Mooncloth can be made by master tailors every 4 days, which means that this piece of gear has a time gate of at least 40 days. And on top of that, the recipe for it is an 8% drop from Balnazar in Strat Live. The Hide of the Wild requires 300 leatherworking, and the recipe is a 3% drop off of Not Thimblejack's cache in DM. And once all the gear is collected, I still have to enchant my weapon, chest, bracers and boots. In total, profession-wise, I will need 300 tailoring to get the Mooncloth, and to craft the True Faith Vestments and the Dreamweave Circlets. 300 leatherworking to craft the Hide of the Wild, which requires around 300 skinning to obtain the necessary materials. 300 enchanting to enchant my gear, which requires 275 blacksmithing to craft the rods, which requires 275 alchemy to get the arcanite, and around 300 mining and 300 herbalism to get the materials necessary to level these skills up. Later down the line, I will again need to get 300 herbalism and 300 alchemy just for the raid consumes. Since a character is limited to 2 professions at a time, I will need to sequence this in a pretty smart way. When I hit 60, I was already using engineering and mining as my main professions, so it's probably a good idea to utilize that high mining skill to get all the ore I will ever need immediately. I need enough to reach 275 blacksmithing, enough to make every enchanting rod, and the materials required to transmute 3 bars of arcanite, and maybe some extra true silver for any pieces of Dreamweave that I may want to craft. The big time gates are the most important to start chipping away at immediately, so the first thing I should do is drop engineering and pick up tailoring. The idea is to start manufacturing Mooncloth as soon as possible, as well as tackle another problem. You see, if I want to level up professions as few times as possible, I will need to stockpile a lot of resources. Since I need to have tailoring as one of my 2 professions for at least 40 days, that leaves me with 1 profession slot to swap out at a time for anything else. To level blacksmithing, I first need to grind a lot of ore, then drop mining, and then level blacksmithing to max with my banked resources. But one of the things I need blacksmith for in the first place is an arcanite rod, which requires arcanite bars, which are made by alchemists, which requires herbalism to level up. So I will need to keep in my bank every ore required to level blacksmithing to 275, every herb required to level alchemy to 275, the materials needed for crafting every rod, and my Mooncloth and my Fellcloth. All of this totals to 115 slots of inventory space that needs to be stored at one time. The default WoW bank is 24 slots of items, and you can purchase up to 6 extra bag slots. If I don't go tailoring, I will max out as 24 plus 6 times 10 bank slots from the purchasable 10 slot bags. Getting tailoring immediately will allow me to instead use Runecloth bags and get a total of 108 bank slots. That, together with my normal inventory space, should be sufficient storage. The plan then is to start out with mining and tailoring, gunning it to 300 tailoring ASAP to begin Mooncloth production. I will then farm up all the ore I will ever need, then drop mining and pick up herbalism. I will then farm up all the herbs needed to reach 275 alchemy and drop herbalism to pick up alchemy. level that to 275 and begin transmuting Arcanite. Once I have 3 Arcanite bars, I will drop Alchemy and pick up Blacksmithing, level it to 275 and craft every rod required by enchanters. At this point, I will drop Blacksmithing and pick up Enchanting. I will level it to 300 and get ready to enchant my pre-biz gear with the sickest enchants. As soon as the true fit vestments are crafted, I will drop Tailoring for Herbalism and begin the grind towards raid consumables. On top of this, I will grind dungeons for the dropped pre-biz and the recipes and start to make plans for what and how many raid consumes I should be preparing for. Come follow the progress live at twitch.tv/brothergrotmer if you like. I'll be posting update videos on this channel as well, of course. Wish me luck, and let's see how far I can get before death rudely interrupts my comfy grind.